I thought it said liberate me. Save me. But it's not me. It's liberate tutte me. Save yourself. And it gets worse.
Did you guys not have phones? Yeah.
There.
A few months ago, on this very show, I talked about Waluigi not being in Super Smash Bros. And specifically pointed out how the Piranha Plant gets more love from Nintendo. Here we are, lukewarm off the heels of a Super Smash Bros. Nintendo Direct, where they announced the Piranha Plant was going to be in Super Smash Bros. Now, I'm not saying I've got this weird psychic link with the video game industry, which has been proven time and time again by my correct predictions, and that you should therefore hang off my every word, but... Actually, fuck it, let's say that. Yeah, I'm saying that. I know everything. I know everything.
The announcement of a new Diablo game should be incredibly exciting for the world at large. Not only is it a venerable and beloved series, Diablo 3 is one of the most exhaustively content-rich games you could ever hope to play. Perhaps the last time an Activision Blizzard product could ever be called downright generous, Diablo 3 is an endlessly playable action RPG with a ludicrous amount of difficulty levels. Should be ludicrous number, shouldn't it, Craig? Ludicrous number of difficulty levels, constantly refreshing content, and seasonal play that you don't need to keep buying battle passes for. How on earth could Activision Blizzard screw up the reveal of an all-new Diablo release? By being Activision Blizzard, of course. At the BlizzCon keynote, Blizzard's Wyatt Cheng had the unenviable task of getting the audience hyped for Diablo Immortal, in what is easily among the biggest audience misreads in video game history. See, Blizzard had decided to step in front of a crowd of ravenous PC gaming Diablo fans and excitedly tell them about Diablo Immortal, a mobile phone MMO produced in association with NetEase. Yeah. To say the reaction was aggressive is to put it mildly. Even merely watching the reveal on screen, one can feel the atmosphere in the room turn, as Cheng, who I only feel sorry for, makes it more and more clear that what he's talking about is a mobile game and not the kind of Diablo follow-up fans had hoped for. The scattered applause seems like a worse deal than if the room had been completely silenced, only enhancing the awkwardness of the situation.
If you want to know more, we'll be back here on the Mythic stage in just a few minutes. For those of you who are here at BlizzCon, thank you.
It only went downhill from there. During the Q&A session, one audience member asked if the announcement was an out-of-season April Fool's joke. The crowd started audibly jeering the news at some points, which reached a head when the poor fucker on stage shouted, "Do you guys not have mobile phones?" A display of exasperated taunting that, oddly enough, did not endear the crowd to Immortal and only seemed to fuel the hostility. The fallout of the announcement has resounded across the internet. Backlash was swift and brutal, as social media erupted in disappointed outrage and shouted down anything bearing the brand of Diablo Immortal. At the time of writing, the official cinematic trailer for the game has 540,000 dislikes compared to 20,000 likes, and it's alleged this is after Blizzard re-uploaded the video to mask how many dislikes it was getting. And I'm sure by the time we get around to screen capping the video, it'll be even worse. Immortal's drawn further criticism for strongly resembling previously released NetEase mobile games such as Crusaders of Light, which themselves are thinly veiled rip-offs of Diablo. This would make Diablo Immortal a rip-off of Diablo itself, which as a concept is just kinda sad. In response to the reskin allegations, Activision Blizzard only described the cosmetic aspects of the game, the only shit that would realistically change in a reskin, thus doing absolutely nothing to quell the gossip and, in a way, reinforcing it. well done there. As to be expected with any good backlash, a backlash to the backlash was inevitable. Game pundits criticised the fanbase for freaking out, being entitled, and expecting everything to be about them. Currently, we're in the backlash to the backlash to the backlash phase, as games journalists are being told off and new think pieces are being published to criticise the criticism of the criticism. Who doesn't love a good backlash?
We don't have any plans at the moment to do PC. Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
In all these hot takes and critiques, nobody seems to be talking about the most important aspect, that the outraged hatred toward Activision Blizzard's announcement is funny, because it's Activision Blizzard and fuck 'em. I mean, it's not a nuanced take by any stretch of the imagination, but since when has that company ever deserved the benefit of the doubt or the goodwill of anybody? Certainly not since, well, probably Diablo 3. Some say it's presumptuous to think Diablo Immortal will be a cynically produced piece of garbage that will focus on excessive monetization to make money like other NetEase gacha-style MMOs. And yes, I do agree. It is presumptuous. I do say it's presumptuous. However, I also say we ought to remember that Activision Blizzard retroactively put loot boxes in Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare Remastered, has patented a method of abusing matchmaking to pressure players into buying microtransactions, and ruined Diablo 3 at launch with the dreaded auction house, a real money trading system that caused most in-game loot drops to be useless for player characters in order to artificially create a need for said auction house. That last point is worth noting, as it shows that even back in 2012, Activision Blizzard has been gunning for a way to aggressively monetize the Diablo series, gameplay be damned. Before the system was patched out, players were predominantly given in-game loot that their own character couldn't equip, all part of the psychological manipulation that all microtransaction economies employ. With a whole bunch of useless loot, you were boxed into having to use the auction house to get rid of it and buy shit you could use. After that failed spectacularly, the game's loot drops had to be overhauled so players would mostly get shit they could use. This is one of several situations that clearly evidence how AAA games are purposefully vandalized in development for the sake of profit. And in the time since 2012, the uncontrollable greed of Activision Blizzard has only gotten worse. Since Overwatch's popularity kickstarted the year of the loot box, random chance microtransactions have been a big part of Activision's revenue stream, making billions off in-game gambling systems found in titles like Call of Duty and Destiny 2. Activision is also one of the publishers that now put the microtransactions in after launch, so they're never mentioned in reviews or any pre-release stuff. Sneaky fucking shitbags. And by all accounts, the microtransactions added to Call of Duty Black Ops 4 recently are fucking obscene. Now, while it is early days and there is a chance Diablo Immortal will somehow ignore the overwhelming monetization possibilities of a mobile MMO, there's no way in hell Activision hasn't earned its preemptive disgust and disdain for the potential exploitation that could occur. Again, they don't deserve any benefit of any doubt. I'm through giving massive corporations a chance. The announcement itself was just the worst possible way ActiBliz could have handled it. To do it as the major reveal of BlizzCon to a crowd of people who couldn't be less interested, to then double down on the contentious atmosphere by shouting at them about phones, there was no way this wouldn't fall the fuck apart. It's one of those how did you think this would go situations, as anybody could have reasonably expected a crowd of PC-centric fans ravenous for compelling Diablo news to see through the plastic hype and insincere excitement instantly, which they did, for a game ActiBliz could have announced in dozens of alternative ways.
Hey, just was wondering, is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke?
No, it's a.
But let's have a think about why the mobile market in particular is so disappointing for people. Mobile announcements of games never seem to go over well among super invested series fan bases, and while that can very easily be written off as hardcore gamers hating casual games for the casuals, it's not like the mobile market has itself been made easy to like. I speak as someone who once championed mobile games as important and creatively exciting things, where productions like Infinity Blade pushed technical boundaries and titles like Doodle Jump provided wholesomely addictive gameplay. But over the years since it exploded, mobile gaming has become miserable, with only a few hard-to-find gems hidden among the bullshit, like Million Onion Hotel. Onion time! What's happening to Diablo appears to be in line with what's happened to other highly regarded classic PC franchises that major publishers desperately want to monetize. Electronic Arts has created a groundbed of justified cynicism for mobile spin-offs. Dungeon Keeper Mobile was legendarily despicable. A free-to-wait game that required regular 24-hour waiting times to excavate a single block of the map unless players stumped up cash to speed things along. Taking a game that people had been hungry for more of since the 90s and turning it into that thing was fucking degrading. EA would later pull a similar stunt with Command & Conquer Rivals, which started off promising but has since been riddled with loot boxes and pay-to-win systems because it's a mobile game, and mobile games apparently have to do that now. If Diablo Immortal had been announced 5 years ago or so, I'd have been genuinely excited for it. The mobile market was promising at one point, but it's long been overtaken by Clash of Clans or Candy Crush rip-offs, an endless stream of overly monetized gacha trash. The AAA publishers only helped speed that along. Rather than bringing credible high-quality games to the platform, they indulged their baser instincts and joined in with the free-to-wait games, gambling games, and similarly insulting products. What I mean to say is, there's a reason, a fucking good reason, for people to not give a shit about mobile games and be actively annoyed at their existence, and it's because of what game companies did to poison the entire fucking concept. The game industry made its bed on this one, so I'm far from feeling sorry for anyone that people shat on Diablo Immortal. Fucking spare me the pity party. Now, there are points to be made in the Backlash to the Backlash. A mobile spin-off is at heart whatever. It's not actually offensive as a spin-off, and it doesn't mean by a long shot that Diablo 4 isn't happening. When I say it's not offensive, I mean, you know, the mobile market is trash already, and I consider almost anything on it to be fully disposable, so whatever. I'm not personally pissed off that this game exists. It's just a shame it didn't happen half a decade ago when there was still hope for mobile games as a concept. Blizzard is working on new Diablo shit, and I can in fairness see how one could look at the Backlash and see a bunch of people angry that they didn't get the toy they wanted for Christmas. Diablo Immortal will likely be a success and likely rake in tons more cash for a corporation for which no amount of money will ever be enough, and a lot of people who boycott games often end up playing them anyway, so the protest may be for naught. Also, any personal harassment being directed at individuals within Blizzard is just not fucking on. Hate the company, not the individual. Shit decisions in the game industry are made by board members you'll never know, headed up by CEOs you'll never interact with, who give not a single shit about you, nor the employees getting attacked at the ground level. You're not just a nasty shithead for harassing individuals, you're a dumbass actively wasting your time. But getting snarky at a Q&A, drowning out official social media posts, and disliking ActiBlizz's YouTube videos, not only fair game, but fucking funny. Because fuck Activision Blizzard as a company, fuck mobile games for what's been done to them, and fuck the AAA game industry just for a lark. Even if it is entitled, even if it is sour grapes, there is nothing Activision Blizzard has done to earn anything better than that. It's an exploitative, predatory, greedy company that champions unregulated gambling and makes its own games worse to coax more money out of an already paying audience. That money will then go off to fucking offshore tax havens so they can keep even more than they deserve. And let's not forget, it's the AAA games publishers themselves that pushed for brand loyalty and gamer identity as part of their marketing. Every E3 is a monument to excessive hype and overexcitement and zealousy. EA and Activision especially have bred fanbase rivalries over their major game releases, and publishers on the whole have notoriously stayed silent in the past when that zealous fandom has spilled over into toxicity. Turnabout, my loves, is fair play. Let ActiBliz stew in a venomous juice of its own creation. They asked for zealously loyal fan bases. This is the end result. Fuck them. Diablo Immortal is not the first time an old guard PC series has been given a mobile game to the booing of the fans, and it, I fear, won't be the last. As we've seen with Dungeon Keeper and Command & Conquer, these older RPGs and strategy titles have systems in them just ripe for monetary exploitation. Whether you're paying for scores of loot, unit builds, or sped up wait times, you're given ample chance to be preyed upon and manipulated by a game you're meant to be playing for entertainment. But AAA publishers don't care about entertainment anymore, they care about engagement, the simple act of interaction, a chance for them to get into your head and swindle increasing amounts of cash from you. Something tells me we'll be seeing more game series get these mobile titles, not just like Diablo Immortal, where they've clearly been gunning for monetization for a while, but like Dungeon Keeper Mobile, where a publisher didn't see potential in a new game for years and years until they realised they could stuff microtransactions into it. And it's gonna suck. Because it's the AAA industry, and sucking's what they do. Predominantly money from your wallet. Sucking money from your wallet is what I was going for with there, with the sucking and the wallets and the money.
Now, I don't typically look for myself on social media, like see what people are saying about me unbidden, because I've only got a shred of self-esteem left, and I'd like to keep it, thank you very much. But my man Justin, art director on the show, he likes to look here and there, see if he can find some fan art or people getting their Jimporium merchandise in, because that's going out to people. People have been receiving that now, awesome. But he stumbled across a thing that's been going around, and I scarcely believe it myself, but apparently, because I've not sided with Activision Blizzard on this whole Diablo Immortal thing, some people are cracking on that I'm a right-wing conspiracy theorist now. Yes. No, I don't know what kind of logic that's based in, and yes, it is so self-evidently moronic a sentiment that to try and seriously argue with it is to debase everybody in the world that could possibly be involved. I have no idea. That's not even out of left field. There's not a field on the planet that could have come out of.
Here's something I made earlier. Oh, this is it, turn it up. Turn it up, I told you. Look at these babes, turn it up.
Bikini babes on beat 'em ups. Up and down, up and down. Bikini babes on beat 'em ups.
Regardless of what's been floating around, I'm not going to apologise for doing what I've always done on this show, which is to not in the least bit trust a multi-billion-dollar corporation, Activision Blizzard especially, and see the worst in what they do, because that's all they seem to do, is the very worst they could do. So no, I'm not sorry that in this situation I don't side with Activision Blizzard at all, and I'm not sorry for Activision Blizzard. I don't feel sorry for them at all, for the reasons I've given, and for the most important reason, which I've reiterated throughout the video, which is fuck 'em! Fuck 'em! And thank God for me.
Bikini babes don't follow fashion.